ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to episode number 8 here on the No Pun Intended podcast here on Entertainment Buddha. Be sure to check us out online at www.entertainmentbuddha.com, where we make you a better geek one post at a time. With me, as always, is the number nerd himself, Mr. Justin Ludwig.
I wish I would have listened to my gut feelings from last week, because then I would have had a belly full of cookies instead of belly full of...
Not cookies?
Not cookies. I was going to say something a little more poetic, like empty, I don't know, like empty dreams or something, but I should have listened to myself last week is the crux of my little ramble here.
So you didn't do so hot?
I did not do well. I went 10-5. You did slightly better than you normally do with an 8-7.
Okay.
Everybody got burned on Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that.
Did we both get burned on Washington in Tennessee?
Yep.
Yeah.
My feelings about Thursday night being a trap game, I think, were sort of vindicated.
Yes,
absolutely. As New England
only
wins by 2. What was the other? There was one more. Oh, I was vindicated on my Chicago pick.
New England, didn't we?
We did, but it was the double digit that killed us. The double digit spread.
Right, not so much the shaky quarterback.
No.
Okay.
Going against Chicago because they were the favorite panned for me, so that was nice. I thought there was one more. Oh, and then we both got boned on Cleveland, so.
Right. Boned.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. How did Cortana and ELO do?
Cortana went 11-4. It kind of stumbled the same places that we did. ELO, I'm not sure. They don't have their updated Week 8 rundown yet, but I'm sure they did almost the same. Almost the same. They're usually pretty close.
Okay, usually close.
Usually pretty close. Good enough for government work.
That's all we're shooting for here. All right, so...
Horseshoes, hand grenades, and football line picking.
Well... let's see. What do we have for the thrillers and chillers?
Thrillers. I'm gonna pick Denard Robinson, running back for the Jacksonville Jags.
Good one.
I mean, he wasn't projected for a lot of points because I think they thought that Jacksonville was not going to use him as the feature back, but they did. He finished with 22 carries, 127 yards, a touchdown, and 18 fantasy points. I think it's safe to say, I feel like he would be a good pickup for any fantasy team.
Right.
I know Jacksonville's not, the strongest team. They only got their first win this week. But it seems like Denard Robinson is somewhat more of a competent back than anybody else that they feature right now.
Right. No, I agree with that. And yeah, Toby Gerhart just hasn't done anything at all. So, can't really do much worse than that.
You'd think so. For week 7, the guy that was projected to score the most points for them as a running back was Storm Johnson.
Right.
So he's like on the same level as Fozzie Whitaker. Just like that awesome name, Storm Johnson.
Right. He sounds like a either a weatherman or a news reporter. Like
I was thinking superhero, but Storm Johnson, I can believe that.
That works too.
Maybe he moonlights at like some like Jacksonville low market television station. He's like, you know what? I'm Storm Johnson, and on the weekends you can come see the Jacksonville Jaguars at whatever the name of their stadium is.
Yeah, there you go. And while during the off season, when there's not much news going on in Jacksonville, he goes out, fights crime. He's a triple threat.
Just not busy. He stays busy.
Not fantasy.
Yeah, because Storm Johnson, he only scored... Well, he got 7 points because he got a touchdown, but he was neither a thriller or a chiller. But for another thriller...
He was more vanilla?
Yeah. Vanilla? Is that like the middle? It's like you say, it's not great. It's like, it's vanilla. It's like, vanilla.
Yeah,
vanilla.
I turned vanilla into vanilla just to go with the thriller and chiller, so...
Yeah, that's fair. I like that.
All right. What else you have?
As a thriller, not so much on the same level as Denard Robinson, but I'm counting Sammy Watkins because he had a pretty big game, even though he had a pretty
Finally.
I know, he had a pretty good game from my fantasy bench, so
Mine
kudos to me. He had 9 receptions, 122 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he took his projection of 10 points and turned it into 24 actual points.
And interesting fact, which I heard yesterday, the Bills in their last 2 games have led for a total of 5 seconds.
Wow, that's interesting.
In both games. Total. Combined.
That's really interesting.
Uh-huh. That's Kyle Orton. He always comes up big. I saw that someone, I forget who it was, someone tweeted that Kyle Orton always comes up big in big games, and I thought it was pretty humorous. But, all right, do we have any more thrillers for the week?
No more thrillers. On to the chillers.
On to the chillers.
Numero uno is Brian Hoyer, who is right now the signal caller for the Cleveland Browns. He had a projection of 19 points, but after going 16 for 41, which is a 39% completion percentage if you calculate the numbers.
I trust you.
215 yards, 1 interception, a 46.3 quarterback rating. That's low. I mean, the quarterback rating is kind of a weird metric, but that's low.
Right.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's very bad.
I'm counting Marshawn Lynch again.
Okay.
Hear me out.
Okay.
18 carries for 53 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's like 2.5 yards a carry.
Yeah, but his quarterback threw for 300 and rushed for another 100.
I know.
The first ever to do that, by the way.
I know, but you think it's Marshawn Lynch, he should be getting you... He's usually a beast. Beast mode is usually a fantasy beast.
Yeah, I think he may have been a little bummed that his buddy Percy got traded.
Yeah, that's weird. But, I don't know.
Maybe they removed Skittles from the locker room vending machine.
Well, there's something going on, because the last 2 games he's only got 12 points total.
Yeah.
Whereas every other game he almost eclipses 12 points in a single game.
Right.
So
yeah,
something's not right.
Definitely a little wacky. Definitely.
Definitely. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, Russell Wilson has a great game, but it's still kind of weird that Marshawn's not getting quite the quality games that he normally gets.
Right.
And they don't even win, so...
Or, yeah.
Maybe they should take my advice, like I gave Dallas earlier in the season, because each of these games that Marshawn has had these terrible games, they've lost. Dallas and then St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they should listen to me, like I did for Dallas, who is now won 5 in a row.
Right, or
6 in a row. You're welcome.
DeMarco Murray rushes for 100 yards every week, so
I know.
It's about time people start paying attention to you.
Maybe I know what I'm talking about. I mean, I spitball a lot. I come up with some wild theories and stuff, but...
Well, you know what? You throw enough ideas out there, one of them's bound to stick, right?
One of them's bound to stick, you're right.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of sticking here, we got the Chargers at the Broncos Thursday night.
A 5-2 against a 5-1.
And I don't know what that has to do with sticking, but I just created a segue, so...
It worked.
Yeah. Chargers at Broncos. Broncos are minus 7.5.
That's a lot of points.
It is. It is a lot of points. And the Broncos, I mean, they crushed... I don't even remember who they played this past week. It just slipped my mind.
San Fran,
that's right. Yeah, because Peyton got the record.
Mm-hmm.
Total career touchdowns passing Brett Favre. Congrats to him. They just absolutely crushed them. Won by 25. So
yeah, but do you feel like he takes a game off now? Like, oh boy, that's out of the way.
No, he's Peyton Manning. He'll want to put as many touchdowns onto that record as he can.
It is an intra-division game.
I don't think the Chargers are going to win this game. But I'm just trying to decide. I mean, I think the Broncos can beat him by 7.5. So it's tough, but I'm going to take the Broncos.
That's who I took. I am mostly because I feel like Denver's offense has a better ability to score. San Diego, especially against Kansas City, it just seemed like their offense isn't quite on the level yet, even though Brandon Oliver has shifted into the running back position pretty well for them. I just don't know that everybody else is kind of on an elevated level for them. Just seems like everything's working for Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. He's got, some pretty good targets that he's been able to find all season long. I don't feel confident in San Diego's offense.
Yeah, and both teams are coming off short rest here. Chargers played, Sunday afternoon. Broncos played Sunday night. So Broncos have an extra 4 hours rest, give or take.
It might count.
An extra 4 hours of preparation.
Oh no, but San Diego was coming from Pacific time, so they lose an hour.
Divide by pi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't want to extrapolate, but
okay. Anyway, I just don't know that Chargers are going to be able to take care of the Broncos on the road, on a primetime game. Actually, this is probably the first Thursday night game that I'm actually kind of looking forward to, because I don't think it's going to be like a huge blowout like a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, but that's where they get you. That's where they get. This is the reverse trap.
Yeah.
This is the opposite of last week, where last week you think it'd be a blowout, and then it's not a blowout. But this one you think, they're going to keep it close because they're 5-2 and 5-1. They're pretty good. But you know what? Then it's going to turn out to be the exact opposite. Let me pinpoint. Green Bay, Seattle earlier this year. Would you have thought it was going to be a blowout? Well, it was. I mean, that was week 1, but it's not like this hasn't happened.
Well, you know what? Week 1's like anything can happen week. So
right.
That's impermissible or permissible.
Permissible.
It's permissible.
That's right. The only thing, the one nice thing is that the Chargers are 6-1 against the spread so far.
That's true. They, the first time they would have lost the spread was, this past week against Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. And the last 4 meetings have been decided by 8 or fewer points.
And the Chargers beat the Broncos last year in Denver.
Yes, they did. By 7 points. I'm not changing my mind.
I know. I'm going to stick with the Broncos.
Yep.
That might become a little tease for me.
Ooh, I do like that.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Are you going to tease the next one, though? Detroit at Hotlanta, with Detroit favored by 4.
Detroit at Hotlanta?
Yep.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's not across the pond at Wembley Stadium?
You're right. How remiss of me. That's starting at 9:30 a.m.
Have fun waking up early, West Coast people.
Yeah, but how adjective. How quaint will that be, waking up, having a big bowl of Cookie Crisp, turning on the TV, and the first thing you see is Detroit playing the Falcons at Wembley Stadium. Maybe have an omelet or brunch. It's Sunday, brunch. You're having brunch. It's not quite breakfast, it's not quite lunch, but there's a piece of cantaloupe at the end. It's brunch.
Is that how brunch works?
Yep.
I'm not a big brunch guy, so I don't know.
It's okay.
All right. I don't know how to feel. The Falcons are very lackluster this year. Their defense is terrible. As we talked about last week, they can put up points, but they also give up a lot of points. The Lions,
they're always sort of like in the middle.
Yeah.
Detroit is.
They're
not really that great in each game. They almost play to the level of their opponent each game. Right.
Yeah, they beat New Orleans last week. They scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I just don't know. Who are you taking?
Taking Detroit. I think
at
Atlanta's kind
-4?
of I think Atlanta's kind of. I don't know that they're. It's like I don't know that they can score.
Well, and the
That's
other
the
thing
trouble.
too is with the Lions, they have such a good defensive line that, well, one, Atlanta's running game hasn't been great at all this year, so that means their offensive line is not that great. Matt Ryan's not putting up the numbers that he's put up in the past, which also shows that the line isn't that great. But this is me trying to talk myself into the Falcons.
Into the Falcons.
This is me trying to talk myself into the Falcons.
It's bold.
+4. I think they can keep it close. You look at Detroit's last couple games; they've been very close. I don't know why this one would be any different. Is Calvin Johnson expected back this week? Do you know?
Oh, that is an interesting question. Everything I've seen the last couple of weeks just seems like they're expecting him to be out for quite some time. But for this week, no indication yet.
Okay.
But it is over in London or England.
Right.
So, does he make the trip?
Over in jolly London town.
Yeah. Jolly old England.
Yeah, because Detroit's second overall in opponent rushing yards per game.
Yeah, but they have Steven Jackson. Oh, you mean their defense is good?
Detroit's is, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, against the rush.
Strike that.
Well, even against
Reverse
the pass, they're seventh overall. I just talked myself into Detroit, so we're going to keep it notched up with similar picks here, the first two. I'm not going to get too crazy right away.
I think that's a smart choice.
Yeah, I know. Detroit's had a few close games this year. This past week against the Saints, they won by 1. Week before, they scored 17 against Minnesota and only gave up 3. So, and then they lost to Buffalo on a field goal. So, I think.
Well, now you're talking me into Atlanta because it seems like Detroit would win, but they're not going to cover.
Well, right, and that's what I was kind of struggling with earlier. But I don't know that Atlanta's offensive line is going to be able to give Matt Ryan enough time to even throw the ball.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like their receiving core is as talented as they are. It doesn't seem like Roddy White and Julio Jones are getting as many good opportunities as they usually do.
Right. That's
why I don't have any faith in the Falcons this week.
Right, but now that we say that, they're gonna play great. So, oh well, I'm sticking with Detroit.
Yeah.
All right.
Just commit.
Let's move on before we start.
Let's move on before we talk ourselves out of it.
Before we start waffling some more.
What's the British equivalent of that?
Of waffling?
Yeah, because it's like chips or fries. Do they have a word for waffles? Look it up real quick.
Yeah. I know crepes are French, but do they eat crepes?
Maybe.
I don't want maybes. I want answers. All right. Will you look that up?
Yeah, I'm going to do some digging. We'll figure it out.
Next game on the agenda is St. Louis at Kansas City. Kansas City is -7. Kansas City and St. Louis both came off of great wins this past week. Kansas City beating the Chargers, St. Louis beating Seattle. Nobody saw that coming, especially that. One, they had that the fake punt for a first down at their own 18, and then they also had that punt return that faked everybody out that they scored for a touchdown. So I think the Chiefs. I don't like the Chiefs at -7 though, so I'm gonna take St. Louis. I think they'll be able to at least keep the game close, if not win outright against the Chiefs.
Well, it took game 3, but here is where we're going to differ because I like KC -7. It's a lot of points. Points,
and that's what scares me too. If it was 3.5, 4, I would probably go with Kansas City, but 7, the way that St. Louis has been playing is a little too high in my book.
Well, the thing that gets me is that Seattle's defense has not been so swell this year. And I know that because I have Seattle's defense. So I've seen firsthand how not good my high draft pick was wasted on them. So that's one reason why I think that St. Louis was able to do as well as they did last Sunday. The other thing is that it seems like Jamal Charles is back to sort of being Jamal Charles.
Right. Right.
Even though
he has not been a consistent chiller.
Right. He's gone from consistent chiller to like niller. He's like he hasn't quite elevated himself to thriller status.
Well, no, because now his projected points are back to where they should be, and he's he had to get the projected points way down, then have that breakout game to get that thriller status.
It's like trading places when they tell everybody to sell concentrated orange juice and then they buy them all up again. It's like I really almost traded Jamal Charles. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. Tired of it. But now I'm glad I kept him.
Now look at him.
I know.
Sometimes you just gotta let these guys work themselves out.
I mean, the only thing I don't like is Alex Smith at quarterback.
Right.
But I mean, Jamal Charles, he has the ability to have some good runs. Kansas City is 4-1-1 against the spread. Their defense is probably a little more, a little tougher, especially against the run. So then the Rams are kind of relying on Austin Davis.
True. But let's take a look.
And I wouldn't call Austin Davis, an elite quarterback.
No, but he's definitely played better than most would have expected.
Right, better than expected. I'll give.
The one thing the Rams had going for him. The one thing the Rams had going for him last week was Trey Mason. He did have 18 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. If that's something they can build off of, then Austin Davis won't have to be relied upon. True. He won't have to have a lot of pressure put on him. Mm-hmm. So I think, let's see, Chiefs are 18th in opponents' rushing yards per game. They're second in passing. So their defensive passing is very good. Rushing defense is, right there at the middle of the road. But I don't know. I think that 7's a little too high. Like I said before, if it was less than that, I'd probably go with Kansas City. But I just think St. Louis is better than people think and better than we think. And
I don't.
think they can.
But that's me.
All right. Well, this
just one man's opinion.
Here's my vindication game. Then I'm calling it now. I say I don't know if the Rams went out right, but
I just remembered I said that Buffalo was my lock of the week last week.
Oh yeah, I meant to bring that up.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
That's dumb.
Yeah, but all right. So it took us to the third game to find some differences, huh?
Okay.
All right.
It's not double digits, so it's not quite up as one of my bugaboos.
Right.
Which we will talk about later, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Because what's next is Houston at Tennessee, with Houston favored by 1.5.
Houston by 1.5 on the road against the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough because it's almost a pick'em game. Tennessee should have won last week. They lost by 2 to the Washington professional football team. There were just some kind of rough coaching going on towards the end of the game there. But that's a game they definitely could have won. But I don't know, because now I'm trying to compare Washington and Houston.
No, you know who my X factor is? It's the guy that we thought was going to be good, but now people seem to think that he's not going to be very, 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 very good. Bishop Sankey. 16 rushes last week for 56 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like he's getting the production everyone thought he would.
No. No, he's not. That could just be a rookie thing. Trying to get a feel for the workload and the pace of the game. But he's certainly not doing as well as you and I had thought at the beginning of the season.
No, and then Tennessee also has to rely on Charlie Whitehurst,
who has been better than I expected him to be.
He's been okay.
Sure. Yeah. I think it helps that he actually has good receivers, but nobody really talks about him too much. But I think they're better than most people give them credit for. With the type of team Tennessee has.
Right. Here's why I'm sold on Houston, and I'm picking Houston minus
just
1.5.
Just for the record, I'm taking Houston too.
Okay. Arian Foster has been playing pretty well this season so far.
Right.
So he's always a pretty good weapon for them. And it seems like they're getting pretty good production out of their receiving core, even above and beyond Andre Johnson.
Right.
The X factor being the bearded one, Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he doesn't completely, defecate where he slumbers, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's more that I think Houston has a better offense and better capabilities than does Tennessee when their feature back is Bishop Sankey, who hasn't been very good, and their signal caller is Charlie Whitehurst.
And Houston has J.J. Watt.
And Houston has J.J. Watt, who has more touchdowns this season than I think Bishop Sankey.
You're right. I just want to look up because there were. Let's see.
Bishop Sankey has one offensive touchdown.
Okay. I was just looking up to see when Clowney was expected back.
Clowney's still downy, so.
Okay. Well, they were hoping he was going to come back against Pittsburgh, but obviously that didn't happen. So maybe this week he makes a return, but
not unless he engages in some sort of time travel. Time travel.
True.
So it's a battle for the middle of the AFC South.
Yes.
Which may, depending on how these teams shape up, may somehow one of these two teams might be battling for the second wild card spot. But again, that's 8 weeks away or so.
Yeah, that AFC South is, aside from the Colts, they're just terrible. Just not a good. They're almost like the NFC North, or excuse me, the NFC South. Except there's not really a dominant team there like Indy in the AFC.
No, but the trouble with Houston is that they've got a lot of division games left on their schedule. They also have some pretty tough games left. They have the Philadelphia Eagles next week. They have the Bengals left. They have the Colts again. They have the Ravens. So this is one of those. I think this is one of those times where it's a situation that it's a game that you need to win.
Right.
In order to stay in the hunt, this is one that you need.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't think Tennessee is going to be able to take care of Houston this week. So, are we back on the same pick track here?
You're taking Houston?
I'm taking Houston.
I'm taking Houston.
All right.
Houston is 75-1 to win the AFC.
Right now?
Tennessee is 200-1. Yep.
75-1.
As of right this second. I'm not saying that's a great deal. I'm just saying this is kind of
no.
On sort of like a total playing field.
Yeah, especially with the Colts playing as well as they are. So
they're not even the favorite. So
for the division?
No, the whole conference. For the division, I'm sure they're a lock.
Oh, you're talking about the conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to win the AFC South, Indianapolis is negative 1,000.
Yeah, they almost have it locked up now.
Oh, the Jacksonville Jaguars are plus 30,000. If you put $1 down on the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Oakland Raiders, what would you get for a parlay for that? It's a lot of quiche.
That is a lot of cookies.
It's a lot of clams.
A lot of cookies here. Let's see. All right. Next up, we have Minnesota at Tampa Bay. Believe it or not, Tampa Bay is the favorite at -3. Basically saying just because they're at home.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, they got... actually, Tampa Bay was off last week, so they're coming back from the bye, a little more well-rested, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to matter against Minnesota.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this the toilet bowl of 14, but it's close.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a game they could have sent over to London.
Yeah, flex that in.
For that early 9:30 game. But I'm going to take Minnesota in this one.
Really? Why?
Minnesota +3. Tampa Bay's terrible.
Yeah, they're both kind of terrible.
Yeah, but I think Minnesota's less terrible.
You're betting against Mike Glennon.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
And Doug Martin on my fantasy team.
Yeah, Doug Martin hasn't. Doug Martin's one of those great fantasy stories that he has one good year, and then that's it.
Right.
Do you play him on your fantasy team, or does he just sit on the bench?
I play him because the league I have him in is a 12-team league.
Woof.
And we start 2 flex spots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a little wrench we threw in this year. Usually we just started 1, but this year... So we have... I think we drafted 19 total. We have 2 defensive players, defense, 2 flex, 2 running back, 2 receiver, tight end, quarterback, kicker.
Wow.
You know, all that good stuff. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Deep league. But, it's a deep league.
So yeah, I do play him. He was my first running back pick because I had a late round pick that I
that's the worst.
used on a quarterback, and then on the way back I picked up Doug Martin because really he was the best available, you know, projection wise. But
I mean, I just don't believe in Teddy Bridgewater. That's where I'm.
You take that back.
My foot down. No.
You bite your tongue.
No, he hasn't done anything to sway me yet.
I know. He hasn't, but
I mean, his best game was 41-28 win over Atlanta, where he went 19 of 30 for 317 yards and no touch. He's thrown 1 touchdown in 4 games and 5 interceptions.
Yeah, but he also rushed for 1. Even
still.
Well, don't act like, you know, a rushing touchdown is better than a passing touchdown. It's 6 points either way.
Yeah, right now.
Well, part of the reason I'm taking the Vikings is their defense is really solid.
Yeah, that's true.
They're 9th in opponents' passing yards, 19th in opponents' rushing yards. So, as much as I want Doug Martin to just run for 200 yards, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Glennon's going to be able to do too much against their defense, and I think Minnesota's going to be able to pull one out here. Like I said, last week they had that game in Buffalo. Kyle Orton worked his magic in those last seconds. I don't know. I think this will be kind of a bit of a turnaround game for Minnesota against a poor team like Tampa.
Well, it's not like I don't want Teddy Bridgewater to do well because I hyped him up the last couple of weeks, but he's got to prove something to me so far. He's got to prove himself. I mean, the nice thing for Minnesota is they've got two running backs that you don't quite know who's going to be the feature back each week. One week it was Matt Asiata, and now it seems to be Jerick McKinnon who's the guy that's getting the bulk and doing pretty good with it.
Right. Yeah, he looked pretty solid on Sunday too.
Pretty solid.
So yeah, I'll take Minnesota +3 in Tampa. Sure, why not? Is this going to be my second vindication game? Is this 1A?
You can if you want.
Well, you just sounded pretty shocked that I was taking Minnesota in the points.
Yeah. We'll make a note. We'll put like a half an asterisk on that.
Okay.
See, here's an interesting one, though. Seattle at Carolina, with Seattle favored by 5.
That is an interesting one.
I know.
Seattle lost 2 weeks in a row. Carolina got blown out by Green Bay. I think Seattle covered the spread once or twice this year.
They're 3-3. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
The tongue, teeth, and lips.
So.
But then Marshawn Lynch has always been my featured chiller the last 2 weeks. So there's that. Russell Wilson did play a pretty good game last week.
He did.
So there's that.
Yeah, they almost came back and won that game, which really it shouldn't have been that close at all.
But now they don't have Percy Harvin.
Yeah, but as we talked about before, like Percy Harvin, if you look at his stats, he was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to be blunt about it, but offensively he didn't have any touchdowns. He had, I think, like 230 yards receiving in 20-something games with Seattle. I think what he did was basically he was just a decoy that teams had to plan around because, they could run the reverse, they could put him in the slot, they could put him out wide. They could do a little bit of everything with him, but teams had to focus on him, and now that he's not there, they're focusing, on Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson, which is still a big task, but stats-wise, Percy Harvin wasn't doing a whole lot in Seattle anyway. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of Seattle's game against St. Louis. It's just tough.
I think it's just hard to go against Seattle right now, even though they've lost 2 in a row. It's tough to count them out. Right.
It's tough to count them out, but here's a West Coast team coming to the East Coast for 1:00. Does that,
I always forget about that.
Against the Panthers that get blown out, that got blown out by Green Bay last week.
It's like I always have my rules, and then I always forget about like the normal rules.
I don't know how normal they are, but
the typical, standard operating procedure.
Right. So are you taking Seattle?
Yeah, I'm taking Seattle. I think Russell Wilson was just way too good. It's not like Seattle is usually extremely pass heavy anyway with Russell Wilson. It's more like a balanced attack.
Right.
So you lose Percy Harvin, but it's like, that's okay. I got other wide receivers anyway.
Yeah, they're both good.
They're all good. Doug Baldwin did pretty good, so.
Yeah, he certainly did.
Let's just take your programs and cross out Percy Harvin and write in Doug Baldwin.
Doug Baldwin, number 89, number in your programs, number 1 in our hearts.
Or at least on the depth chart.
You know what? I'm going to go with Carolina.
Ooh.
+5. Seattle's not playing well.
Just to get my goat, or you really feel that?
No, I feel the Seahawks are in a bit of a spiral, and I don't know that they come out of it this week.
Okay.
I know the Panthers are still fighting for the division. They're 3-1. Because that NFC South is terrible, as we had talked about. But I think playing at home, I think Cam Newton's going to have a solid game. Seahawks defense isn't as great as it was last year. They're not forcing as many turnovers. They're not, they're giving up more points than they did last year. So I think this is a game that Carolina can keep close, and I don't know if they'll win outright, but I think they'll at least keep it within 5. So you call it a gut feeling, whatever you want, but I'll take Carolina.
Well, I don't mean to give you any vindication on your pick, but last week in the early games, the home team won the game in all but one instance.
Which instance was that?
That was Miami at Chicago. Miami won that game.
Right.
But every other early game, the home team won.
I did not realize that.
And Carolina is the underdog, so all they need is a win to cover. It's not like you have to battle the spread this game.
Right.
So
really what this spread is saying is that if it was in Seattle, Carolina would be +8.
Pretty much. What would you do then? Would you still go with Carolina?
I think I would. Just because...
You think they're going to win outright?
Well, I don't know that they'll win outright, but if it was in Seattle and the spread was +8, I think that's just too high.
Yeah, that's a lot of points.
I mean, who is Seattle? Like, let me take a look here. They blew out Green Bay week 1. Mm-hmm. Week 2 they lost to San Diego by 9. Week 3 they beat Denver, but it took overtime. Against Washington they won by 10. They lost to Dallas, lost to St. Louis. So like they're not, except for the Green Bay game, they're not blowing teams out. Unless you want to count a 10-point win over Washington a blowout, but yeah, I think Carolina +5 at home is a-okie dokie with me.
I mean, the only thing for Seattle is they have 2 games after this that are a little easier. So it might be one of those things where they look ahead and they figure, well, we just really need to get those 2 games under our belt, and then maybe they let Carolina slip by.
I don't know that they do, because if they let Carolina slip by, that's a 3-game losing streak.
That's true. What's the rule for Seattle for number of games that you don't bet against them? Like New England, they don't lose 2 in a row.
Right.
Is there a standard, an SOP for Seattle?
Well, the SOP for Seattle is more of the home field for them.
SOP for SEA?
Yeah, it's more of a home field thing, just because of the whole advantage, the 12th man, the noise, all that sort of, which obviously didn't work against Dallas, but their normal SOP is you take Seattle at home, but that's not been as prudent this year as last year.
You know what else isn't prudent?
What's that?
Baltimore at Cincy, with Cincinnati favored by 1.
That I don't understand.
I don't either. That's why I took Baltimore. It was like a gut decision, like a right out of the holster. Baltimore.
Yeah, I'll take Baltimore too. But here's the thing: when you make a pick like that's so quick and you think it's easy, you should probably take a second to think about it.
It's gonna be another trap.
I know. Is AJ Green back this week?
The latest I'd heard, I don't think so. It seems like it might be another week that he needs out.
Yeah. Because
it says right now he has a chance to play.
Chance
to play. They don't have him listed as anything that's like questionable or probable. It just says he has a chance to play. He had a positive prognosis last Friday for his toe.
Okay. All right.
But other than that, we don't know.
And I mean, if he were playing, I might hesitate a little bit more, but Baltimore at +1 at Cincinnati, tough division game and Baltimore's been playing very well offensively the past couple games.
Well, their rushing defense has been pretty good, and Giovanni Bernard has been inconsistent. Right.
And he took a hard hit last week, so I mean, he stayed in the game and kept playing, but I think that's when he's going to feel for a little while. Mm-hmm. And Cincinnati's defense is in a tough spot too. They're 27th against the rush and 27th against the pass and 30th against the rush. So they're kind of at the bottom of the barrel there. And the way Baltimore's been playing, Joe Flacco's been throwing the ball really well.
Yes, he has.
Forsette's been running the ball pretty well. So I'm a little confused with why Baltimore +1, but maybe Vegas knows something we don't. But I don't know. I just think it's too tough not to take Baltimore.
You could always tease that up to 7.
That's true.
There's the second part of your teaser. You've got Denver, now you got Baltimore.
That's true.
See the third one for the correct capper.
Yeah, I have to keep that in mind here.
You could always take Miami, who is playing at Jacksonville and is favored by 5.5. You can tease that down. But it's like, what do we make of Jacksonville now?
Well, I think that was just a trap game for Cleveland. I don't think. I mean, unless Denard Robinson becomes, a star and a regular on the thriller list.
No, I wouldn't call him a star. I'd say he's better than. I mean, he's a better pick than Toby Gerhardt. I'll say that.
I'm not calling him a star now. I'm just saying if he becomes one, then maybe they're cooking with gas there. But I don't know. I'll take Miami in that. Miami played really well against Chicago. At no point in the Chicago game did you think, all right, Chicago's got this. They're going to come back and win. Miami just dominated basically every aspect of that game, which is strange because when you look at the receivers that Jay Cutler has to throw to.
Right. I mean, I was just going on a gut feeling last week with Miami and Chicago, but clearly my gut was in the right place. Blake Bortles, though.
Blake Bortles.
The law firm at Jacksonville of Bortles, Robinson. I don't know that it's quite the potent trio.
It's true.
It's going to be tough for them against that Miami passing defense. Bortles has been a little shaky.
Yeah, and Jacksonville's defense against the pass this year is 30th. So that's looking good for Tannehill and Mike Wallace and Charles Clay and
Hartline.
And Brian Hartline, yeah.
I'm just disappointed that Alan Hearns kind of fell off the radar for Jacksonville. I thought he was going to be pretty good, but
yeah,
doesn't seem
and
like
who knows? Maybe he'll have a resurgent game in the near future, but
there's plenty of time.
Yeah, there's plenty of games left there for that.
Just 19 receptions, though.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So you're taking Miami?
Yep, I'll take Miami.
Miami.
And let's see. Next up, we have. Or no, wait, is that it for the 1 o'clock games?
Is there two more?
No. We have the Bears at the Patriots. New England is -6.5.
See, here's where I have to make a decision for myself. And normally go with the Bears when they're the underdog. And then I flip the script when they're the favorite.
Right.
But I don't want to do that this week. I want to go with the Pats.
Well, the Bears are 3-1 on the road, and the Pats are 3-0 at home.
Yeah, it's a battle of the Titans. They're both 3-4 against the spread too.
They're just a couple of even Stevens.
I know, it's just that trap game from last Thursday. It's got me a little hesitant to be so confident with the Patriots. I mean, you only win by 2 against the Jets. Geno Smith and the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that 6.5 is a little scary. I think I don't think the Bears win outright, but I think they kind of kick it up a little bit from last week's poor performance against Miami and at least cover that spread. So I'll take Chicago. I'll take Cutler and the Bears.
That's bold. I mean, the only thing that I don't like about Chicago is it just seems like their receiving core has kind of fallen off a little bit. It doesn't seem like... I mean, Alshon Jeffrey has been doing... he's had some pretty good games, but it doesn't seem like he's quite so dominant that people thought he was going to be.
Right.
Brandon Marshall calling out Cutler. There's that.
Yeah. That's just things that happen to a team after, a bad loss. I mean, that happens all the time. You just don't always hear about it. I'm not concerned about it. I think they come back strong this week. Like I said, I don't know if they win outright, but I think they at least, cover that 6.5 spread.
I know I'm just going to get bit when I go against my own rules about Chicago. That seems to be the only consistent. The one constant across the entire season is that when Chicago's the favorite, you bet against them. And then when it's the opposite, you do the opposite. But this is like the validation test, like whether that rule actually holds up.
Right.
Which is nice, because then it's like, oh, does the rule actually work? I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll find out on Sunday then, won't we?
You know what else we'll find out? If Sammy Watkins is the real deal, because the next game to finish off the 1 o'clocker is Buffalo at the Jets, with the Jets favored by 3.
Jets favored by 3.
So essentially they're saying that this is an even-Steven match. It's just that the Jets have the benefit of playing at the Meadowlands.
Right.
which is in New Jersey.
I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills at +3.
I was doing the same thing. I feel like Orton is getting more comfortable with Sammy Watkins. Now, here's where things get tricky, is that they lose C.J. Spiller after he has one rush for 53 yards. I saw that, I was like, oh, great, C.J. Spiller's going to have a nice resurgence, especially with Fred Jackson out, and then he gets injured.
Broke his collarbone, I believe.
Yep. It seems like they're going to put him on IR, at least, but at the least he'll be out for quite some time, whether it's IR or not, or PUP. But
and
so now it's down to Anthony Dixon.
Right. Well, and they have who else do they have? Bryce Brown.
They've got him.
Yeah, former Eagles running back.
Frank Summers.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. I mean, he's no Fozzie Whitaker or Storm Johnson.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Storm Johnson to get more points next week. He's like, oh, you mentioned Storm Johnson? Boom! Right to the top. Forecast for Storm Johnson, plenty of fantasy points.
It's going to be a storm of points.
Oh. You one-upped me. Good job.
Well, I'm just hoping the broadcasters use that if that happens, so.
You think he, says that about himself? Like, I don't want to, inflate my own ego too much. But there's a storm a brewing.
I think if you had a name like that, you shouldn't stop yourself from saying things like that.
You think you'd use it as many instances as you could?
When a cold front and a hot front come together, there's gonna be a storm. Psh.
Yeah, I think you have to use it every instance you can.
Yeah. I think that's a rule.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Sammy Watkins. I think he's getting into his groove for the Buffalo offense.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, Orton is getting comfortable. Watkins has a quarterback that can actually get the ball to him fairly accurately. Their running game will be, a little touch and go, I think. But I just don't believe in the Jets. I just don't. It's tough. I mean, and they do have Percy Harvin now. Whether he's an immediate impact or not is obviously yet to be seen. But
that's true. Be his first time suiting up for them.
Yeah.
It only kind of sucks for Buffalo that all this running back brouhaha happened after the trading. It's after the trading deadline, right? Or is there still time?
I think there's still time.
Be interesting to see if they trade for him or trade for somebody.
Well, they did. The Bills just signed. What did I see here? They signed Philip Tanner.
Former Cowboy.
Yeah.
I know that from Madden, so.
See, video games help you learn things.
It's like how I always remember that the early '90s quarterback for the Steelers was Bubby Brister.
Yeah.
Never forget that. Of all the things I retain,
good old Bubby.
One of them is Bubby Brister.
Yeah. So the Bills, I mean, they have Anthony Dixon, Bryce Brown as their top two backs, obviously, but they were able to sign a third, just in case. I'd hate to see what happens if Bryce Brown or Anthony Dixon get hurt, but the Jets' run defense is still good. I think they're top 10 in the league. Their pass defense is kind of middle of the road, but I don't know. I think Bills will win this game outright.
Yeah, Buffalo's going to go pretty pass heavy, and I think it's going to work out for them. Sammy Watkins hopefully has another good week, and hopefully he'll have another good week when he's on my fantasy starting lineup and not the bench.
Yeah, I'll have to put him in this week too, I think, since he's finally starting to produce a little bit here with Orton. So, all right, so we got both of us on Buffalo there. Next up we have.
So that does it for the 1 o'clock games.
Yep, you're right.
You could also toss in Detroit and Atlanta since it's not a 1 o'clock game.
True.
What's your favorite?
That's it for the early games.
The early much better.
Games.
Early games.
My favorite.
The one you're most interested in.
There is something nice about being able to wake up on a Sunday and pouring a bowl of Captain Crunch and turning on a football game. But I'm not going to pick that one.
Well, I was thinking maybe that's one of those that the defense is just kind of take the day off and it turns into a shootout.
That's true. That would be fun to watch. The over-under is 47. I mean, that could be like, super easy.
You could tease that down. There you go. Third part of your tease. Tease that down to 41. They'd have to get over that. I mean, if anything, the NFL would want something like that to happen. Some high-octane game, two high-scoring offenses, a lot of passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know. I think my favorite 1:00 game is probably the Bills at the Jets. Or
it is a good divisional game.
Or my 1A pick would be Ravens at Bengals.
Yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah.
You've got a team that is definitely a contender with the Baltimore Ravens, and then you've got a team that doesn't quite know whether it wants to be a contender or a pretender this season with the Bengals. I mean, they even have the tie. It's like, do we win? Do we lose? Let's just go get some ice cream. Whatever.
Yeah. Everybody's happy. Well, and you had mentioned too, even just a couple weeks ago, that at the time the Bengals were favored to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Now they're 3-2-1.
Now they're not favored to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, how the turntables have turned. Okay.
They are the second favorite to win the AFC North, if that's any vindication.
Behind Baltimore? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we were favorites to win a Super Bowl. Now we're just favorites to get second in the division. So
well, they're the sixth favorite to win the AFC Conference, which is behind Baltimore, who is fifth favorite. 10-1 for Baltimore, 16-1 for Cincy. So it's not like they're, all things being on a level playing field. It's not like Vegas is saying that they're too different, even though the records are pretty different.
Right.
They've been playing kind of different.
True.
But if
it doesn't help that AJ Green's been out for the Bengals the last couple of weeks either.
Right, that's what I was going to say. If they get back me and AJ Green, or is he nice? I'm sure he's a nice guy. It's not like Joe Green, mean Joe Green. It's like AJ Green. Let's score some touchdowns. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's like nice AJ Green.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I like that. I have AJ Green on my one of my fantasy teams, so it'd be nice to see him back on the field. But
him and Sammy Watkins, what a duo!
I know. And I have Calvin on that team too, so I have all three of those guys.
Yeah, but he's probably not going to play this week.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Sanders and Mike Wallace. So
here's an interesting line.
That's my 8-team league where everybody's team is basically stacked. Complete opposite of my other one, but yes, go on. Next game. Birds against birds.
Birds and birds. The bird bowl. Bird.
We got the predator versus the
bird of prey versus the
Is that is that like offensive to Cardinals fans if we just call them like seed eaters? Like calling Canadians maple jockeys or knuckleheads?
I don't know. I mean, it's not like the Arizona Cardinals originated in Arizona.
Where they originate? St. Louis?
St. Louis. I remember that from Tecmo, too.
Right.
Because even in the early 90s, they were still the St. Louis Cardinals.
Right. Yeah, I never really understood why, all the moving around, but I don't know. Anyway, we got...
Oakland has a team, then they moved to Los Angeles, then they moved back to Oakland. St. Louis has a team, then they moved to Arizona, then they get another team.
Jacksonville threatens to go to L.A. Hasn't happened yet. Maybe it will. But, Philly at Arizona. Arizona's minus 2.5. I'll take Philly, please.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's not like Arizona's not good. It's just Philly's off the bye. I'm trying to think of any reason why Philly wouldn't win this game.
Right. Here, just to solidify that fact.
Darren Sproles, there's that.
Well, Arizona's pass defense is 31st in the league.
Ooh.
Their rush defense is first. But as we've seen this year, the Eagles have been able to win games without, big games from LaShawn McCoy.
Right, and the thing with LaShawn is that he hasn't had the number of carries that he normally has in a typical season with Darren Sproles. Plus, they're coming off the bye, so maybe he's got a full tank of gas that he can, have a good running game for them.
Right. And Arizona's offensive passing is 21st, and their rushing is 26th in the league. So offensively, they're not great. They have been able to win games, obviously. Their only loss being to Denver. But they beat, they beat San Diego, New York, San Francisco, Washington, and Oakland. So their last 2 wins were against poor teams. But, their upcoming games, they have Philadelphia this week, Dallas next week, St. Louis the week after, who might be pretty tough. So this could be an interesting stretch for the Cardinals.
I mean, the thing that concerns me with Philly is that even though they shut out the Giants, their defense has been spotty at times.
Right. Well, and that's a bit of a concern, but I don't know. Looking at Cardinals numbers, they just, they've won games, but they're I don't know. They're kind of sketchy wins if you ask me.
Right. I mean, I'm not. Carson Palmer is the reason why I'm not too confident on Arizona.
Right.
I mean, he's kind of like, at this point in his career, he's kind of like a middle-of-the-road kind of guy. I mean, he turns in good games. He gets you, maybe a dozen fantasy points each game, but he's not going to have something that's super flashy.
Right.
That's why I'm pretty okay with... if anything, I'm just... maybe it's not... I'm curious as to why the line is what it is.
Yeah.
But I guess, as you usually point out, with all things being equal, this is basically saying that Philly is a 0.5 point favorite, but Arizona gets the 3-point benefit just because it's at Arizona.
Right. Yeah. So Arizona's defense has been hurting this year. Obviously, you can see based on their aside from the rushing defense, obviously, but offensive. I can't talk. Their pass defense has not been good at all. Patrick Peterson's been giving up a bunch of catches, and it's just something I think the Eagles would be able to take advantage of coming off a bye, being able to practice and study some more tape against Arizona. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I feel comfortable with that. Maybe I should be more concerned, but I'm not.
Trap game. No, it's not a trap game.
Coming off the bye?
I don't know. I mean, it happened... who was it? Wasn't there one team that we thought was going to come out playing hot? The weird thing about the bye is that the first week with byes, we had 6 teams, and then the last couple of weeks, it's always been 2 teams. That's weird. I
don't understand that, but I don't make the schedule. I'm not the Goodell bot. That episode of South Park was probably one of my favorites ever.
They nailed it.
It was good. It was really good. Anyway, next up we have Oakland at Cleveland. Cleveland's -7.
I don't understand why they didn't put Johnny Football in the game at the tail end and just let him get a few drives.
Yeah.
Now it seems like the talk of the town is that they're going to let Manziel start the game over Brian Hoyer.
Oh, really?
I've some places I've kind of seen. I don't know how much stock I would put into it.
Right.
But I don't know. Why not?
Well,
it's curious that they just didn't give him, a chance, or even like Rex Grossman or Tyler Thigpen. It's just somebody. Just take Hoyer out, give somebody else a few drives, and then just see what happens.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm a little surprised they didn't put him in either, but I don't know. It just seems like Mike Pettin just isn't ready for him, or doesn't think he's ready to have more of a workload. I don't know.
See, here's the other thing that you should be apprehensive about if you're picking the Browns. I'm picking the Browns, but now that I look at it, the Jaguars earned their first win last week against the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Oakland has yet to win this year.
Right.
So, is Cleveland going to have another embarrassing game where they let a team get their first win against them? This one's at Cleveland, so it's not quite the same as last week.
Right. I don't know. That 7 seems It seems high to me.
Right.
I mean,
it might be one of those things where Oakland gets close enough that they cover, but they don't win.
Right. Like they get a garbage time touchdown to cover the spread or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Oakland. I think that spread's a little too high for me to take Cleveland. I'm not jumping off the bandwagon yet, just because they got blown out by Jacksonville, but I just think that's a little too high. So I'll take Oakland at +7.
Yeah, I mean,
I gotta take a little risk, a little reward.
Yeah, roll the dice. I mean, it was one of those games I looked at and I thought, well, I'm going to take Cleveland, but I don't really feel that great about it.
I don't either.
I mean, I could have probably been talked into either one. As you said, Oakland might get close enough that +7 puts them above in terms of the spread, but they still might not win outright.
Right. All right. So what'd you say? You took Cleveland?
Yeah, I'll take Cleveland.
All right. How many picks separate us?
Let's see. St. Louis, Kansas for 1, Minnesota, Tampa for 2, Carolina, Seattle for 3, Chicago, New England for 4, and Oakland, Cleveland for 5. That might be the most we've ever had.
This could be an interesting week. To mark the halfway point of the season too.
We had 8 in week 1.
Well, we still have
we got some games left. You're right.
All right. Yeah, we have.
I don't think we're going to differ on this one anyway.
Nope. Indianapolis at Pittsburgh. Indianapolis -3.5. I'll take Indy.
Well, unless Andrew Luck goes out and eats 10 Permane Brothers sandwiches, which, I mean, I would do that. But if he does that before this game, then maybe they lose. But Indy is just way too hot right now.
Yeah. I don't know. Does Permane serve him before the game? Or would they just say, Mr. Luck, you'll have to come back another time?
Good luck, Luck. I don't know. I mean, maybe they think it's like
there's a Subway down the street. Why don't you go eat fresh?
That was so funny. Yeah, never go to Permane's and tell them you don't want fries and coleslaw on the sandwich. Because they will tell you to go to Subway. That's
a terrible mistake. If there's any tip or piece of advice you pick up from this podcast, it should be that.
When in Pittsburgh, you eat the Permane sandwich as Permane serves it.
As they serve it.
Why wouldn't you though?
I know it's good.
Anyway, I mean, the only thing I'd be worried about is that the Colts doing what they sometimes do and playing down to the level of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3.5. If it were something a little higher, I'd be a little weary about it. But I mean, 3.5 is it's pretty good teaser territory.
Right.
Indy's won 5 in a row.
That is good teaser territory.
That is good. I know.
And Indy's defense is
pretty solid.
Very solid. They're 5th in opponent passing yards and 9th in opponent rushing yards. So they've been able to take care of business lately.
Taking care of business.
They shut Cincinnati out last week. The Steelers were looking hapless against Houston. Until they had those quick touchdowns there in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to pull away. Maybe they should let Antonio Brown throw the ball a little bit more. He did have a touchdown toss last week, but I don't think Pittsburgh's going to be able to beat Indy or cover that spread. I think Indy's just playing too good right now.
Yeah, Antonio Brown has a nearly perfect quarterback rating.
Nearly perfect. Yeah, but then you got to add the stipulation like minimum 200 attempts, and then he doesn't qualify. I'm just saying.
It's like one of those garbage statistics. Like, oh, Antonio Brown had the highest passing rating. Congratulations! Here's the award. Yay! I threw one pass.
Yeah,
and I got this lousy trophy.
Well, Colt McCoy's first pass was a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
We'll get to them. We'll get to them.
I mean, the thing with Pittsburgh is I don't know that the running game is. They have a good running game.
Yes.
It's just that they haven't been able to put up the same numbers they have earlier in the season, the last couple of games.
Right.
I mean, even in their big win against the Texans, it was relying mostly on their passing game, which has also been, pretty solid.
Yeah.
but they're not able to do the ground and pound as much as effectively as they have in other games.
Very true. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell rushing wise hasn't been a thriller, so to speak.
Nope.
If he was, we would have heard about it.
I would have remembered something like that.
Next up, we have Green Bay at New Orleans. New Orleans is favored at -1.
So,
did I read that right? Is that right?
Did you do a double take as you were reading it?
I was like, why does it say no -1? I was
Green Bay, New Orleans.
No -1. No -1.
See, I felt comfortable last week taking New Orleans as they were the underdog at Detroit.
Right.
But I don't know that they played well enough last week that it earns them a favorite against Green Bay this week.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, Green Bay scored a lot of points against Carolina last week.
38. Green Bay is 6th in pass defense, 31st in opponent rushing. Fortunately for Green Bay, New Orleans does not have much of a rushing attack.
Yeah, that's the other thing for New Orleans. Their defense is not very good. They usually kind of rely on scoring more points and just not worrying about how many points they give up.
Yeah, basically the Eagles have become the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Saints are 28th against the pass this season. So you're putting a 28th ranked defense against Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb.
In a dome.
Prime time. Green Bay. I mean, do I have to say it? I want to be like, that's my lock of the week, but I feel like it's too obvious, which means I should be concerned.
Well, here's a point for concern.
Okay.
In the Sunday night prime game, only twice this year has the road team won. Week 2, Chicago beats San Fran. Week 3, Pitt beats Carolina. All the others, the home team has won, and in most cases, rather convincingly. Detroit wins 35-14. Dallas wins 38-17. New England wins 43-17. Philly wins 27-0. And Denver wins 42-17.
True.
So maybe that's why they feel like New Orleans will be all right.
That could be. It could be, but
I mean, I'm not swayed, but
yeah, I'm sick with Green Bay on that one. I'm not swayed.
We'll have to come up with like some standard operating procedure for the Sunday primetime game.
Think about that teaser.
Ooh. Do you make it a 4-team? Like, are you confident enough to do a 4-team teaser with Green Bay?
I would certainly consider a 4-team teaser.
I'll put some cookies on that. I don't care.
I would certainly consider that.
I'll roll the dice.
Yeah, why not? Speaking of rolling the dice, RG3 might be back this week. Washington at Dallas. Dallas is -10.
That's such a terrible situation.
Monday Night Football. Well, here's what I saw on ESPN earlier today. That unless RG3 is cleared, Colt McCoy will be the starter.
RG3 is expected to return to practice on Wednesday. So that doesn't necessarily set the table for him Sunday. But it's, right, he's at least getting on the field.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where it's like he'll start unless there's a setback at practice, I think. All right, so
here's where my battle begins. It's my traditional bugaboo of the double-digit spread versus the inconsistency of their quarterback situation.
Right.
Because you have, if RG3 starts and he plays up to his potential, then I might be one to say that Washington would get at least within 10 points.
Yeah.
Colt McCoy or Kirk Cousins, I don't know.
Well, even this year when RG3 wasn't, he wasn't all that impressive.
Yeah. I mean, Kirk Cousins was probably the better choice because he was a better passer. But then even he started to tailor off a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and normally double-digit spreads don't scare me depending on the team and, how well I think they're playing. But
no fear.
Well, this one, I'm a little concerned. I mean, I know Dallas has been playing really, 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 really well. Tony Romo's not having to throw the ball as much because DeMarco Murray's rushing for 100 yards every game.
Right, but that's the other thing. Do you think they kind of dial it back for him? Since he's been having so many carries he's had...
I think, what did I hear? I think I heard today he's on pace for like 900 carries this year.
I mean, he's had 31, 29, 28 in the last 3 games.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't shown any signs of stopping. So, like, why would you lighten the load at all?
I guess. I mean, the other thing to consider is they have a big game against Arizona next week.
Right.
So maybe it's one of those where you kind of dial it back a little bit for DeMarco this week to kind of give him more time to stay fresh for the next week versus Arizona.
Well, we're going on 7 weeks in a row of him getting 100 yards. I think at this point, I don't think the Cowboys are too concerned with lightening his load right now.
Right, just keep going with what
especially
works.
Especially against a division rival. I mean, not that the Redskins are exactly in the hunt right now, but
yeah, but see, remember this is the thing that I always talk about with the Cowboys, where they have that one dumb game that just completely turns the tide for them. I don't think this is it.
You don't think so?
No, I'm not even bothered by the 10-point spread in this game. I'm taking Dallas. I'm not even succumbing to my normal bugaboo of the double-digit spread.
Well, they do play week 10. They play Jacksonville, so maybe that's their. They play Jacksonville, then they're on a bye, so maybe they look past Jacksonville because after that they have.
Yeah, we got a tough bye week coming up.
Well, no, because after that they have the Giants and then Philadelphia 2 weeks in a row, and they're 12 and 13. So.
I'm just saying that it'd be funny if they look past Jacksonville at their bye week.
Yeah. All right, guys, we get through this game. We can rest up. Got some Evil Within to play. A little Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, I mean it's November. It'll be right before all the sales.
Yep. Have some quality video games coming out.
Yeah.
But no, I'm kind of tempted to take Washington though.
I mean, maybe DeMarco Murray's like, oh boy, I can't wait to go home and play some Toad's Treasure Tracker for a while.
I'm gonna do that. I know the double-digit spreads haven't been too kind to me this year, so
you don't care about that.
I know you don't, but
no, you don't. I do.
Oh, well, no. In the past, I've taken teams with the double-digit spread, and I think most of the time it's come back to haunt me. So I'm gonna go with Washington this time around.
Oh,
yeah, especially if RG3 is playing. I think if he's healthy enough to play, he can at least keep it within 10.
Are you putting a stipulation on this, or is this like a straight Washington selection?
No, I'll just stipulations, schmipulations. I'm just gonna stick with Washington.
All right.
Write it down before I change my mind.
Would you tease this to a Washington plus 16?
Plus 16.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would you be more willing to take them then?
I mean, I might then have a 5-team teaser or a 5.
You weren't scared of the 4-team tease. Why would you be scared of the 5-team tease?
Well, yeah, you're right.
Is that your plateau?
No, I mean, because the more, at least where I place my cookies, the more teams you have, the better, the more you can win.
The more cookies.
Eventually. But, I mean, that's usually how it works.
Especially when they have a new Oreo flavor of red velvet.
Oh, do they?
Mm-hmm.
That is intriguing. Have you tried it?
No, I haven't. Oh, that's Valentine's Day. Never mind. That's too far off. I mean, I've seen Fruit Punch recently. I don't know how new that is, and I've also seen Pumpkin Spice.
Pumpkin Spice. I have not seen that. Let's see. What else do they have? They have cookie dough Oreo.
Those kind of taste like mocha.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're not bad. It's not cookie dough. They're fibbers.
There's a banana split Oreo. There's a rainbow sherbet Oreo. A watermelon?
There's candy corn, too.
Well, I know the candy corn. That's Ugh.
Every candy corn Oreo they made in 1912.
There's little gnomes that run around and clean up the candy corn each year after Halloween. They wash it.
Which, ironically, the Oreo has been around since 1912.
Oh, well, there you go. Let's see. They have a marshmallow crispy Oreo.
Oh, that is the best one.
Huffington Post has a ranking of awful to awesome.
That is the best
Oreo
one. The marshmallow cream is the best. You can't find it anymore. But when it was available, that was the one. Ooh, birthday cake's good too.
Yeah. Yeah, they have I never had the cool mint, but that'd be kind of good.
I'll bet that's good.
Yeah. Then they have peanut butter lemon Oreo. I never had that. And then of course the classic one's the number one favorite.
Classic.
Double stuff is third on this list. Double stuff's third. Lemon is second.
I don't like this. I don't like the ratio. Just give me the regular.
Oh, I like the double stuff. I like that.
Do you eat it whole, or do you split it open and go with the cookie?
I eat it whole. I just dip it in the milk and.
Oh, you're a dipper.
Chomp on. I'm a dipper. I'm a dunker.
See, maybe you could do that early Sunday morning when it's Detroit and playing Atlanta. It's 9:30.
Oreos for breakfast.
Yeah, why not?
Huh. It's Sunday. There's a football game on at 9:30. You know, up is down, black is white.
Anything goes. It's Thunderdome.
There's no rules. All right, that does it for our picks this week. Anything else you want to add?
Nabisco, if you're listening, you need to release more Marshmallow Crispy Oreos.
You should tweet them.
I should.
I mean, in the world of social media, that's how things get done.
The quickest way. Lemon's number 2?
Yeah. You thought I was joking.
I don't get that.
I must be missing something about -1. It's a wild, crazy world we're living in, folks. Yeah, be sure to check us out on entertainmentbuddha.com. Justin, you have weekly comic book spotlight. You got some coming up for New Comic Book Wednesday tomorrow?
I sure do. What are my picks this week? There's a new Superman. That'll be good.
There's a new Fade Out, I believe.
There's a new Fade Out. I think you're right.
I think that's out tomorrow, or maybe it's next week. I don't remember.
Well, the crux of my spotlight is going to be that it's a very high quality week.
Very nice. A little something to look forward to there, and
there's a lot of somethings to look forward to.
Yeah, and be sure to check out the other Buddha cast. The most recent one was Matt and Anna did a 2-person cast. They talked about Alien Isolation and a little bit of the horror genre in the video game world. So it was a good listen. I enjoyed that. But yeah, you can tweet at us. We are at No Punt Intended. No Punt in the number 10 and then DED. You can also follow us at EntBuddha, at EntBuddha for all things geek. So yeah, be sure to check us out. And I think that'll wrap everything up for this week. Good luck with your picks, and we'll catch you next week.
Giddy up.